Hey guys, Tony George, Hump Day Update, opening college football line report, and free play winner for you. Free play winner did not get done for you last night. Wow, Chicago was leading Cleveland for some of that game last night, which should never happen. I tweeted that out mid-game. But we'll bounce back with another free play winner for you in the NBA as well tonight. Speaking of the NBA, last night I had Indiana plus 10. Yeah, they won by 20-some. Previous game, I had Memphis. They were, what, plus 8, plus 7.5, won outright. 6-0 in the NBA, undefeated in the NBA. Another 4-unit winner tonight in the NBA. Red hot, haven't lost all year, undefeated. Click the link below. Let's get it done. World Series, ho-hum, 3-1 win, Dodgers. I had the under for 4 units. It says plus 24 units, my last 7 Major League Baseball plays. Got another play tonight in the World Series as well for you. Come on. You know, got a good matchup tonight. Hill taking on Verlander. I'm working on side and possibly a bonus totals play. Same game. Red hot Major League Baseball dialed in. Come on. Unfortunate news is the Florida Panthers got beat up last night by Montreal in hockey. For our 6-unit play, game of the month, did not win it. There's only 2 games today in hockey. My guy passed. He said he's coming back with a vengeance with maybe 2 or 3 plays, which we usually just do 1 play a day, but he likes to look aheads on Thursday. That or we'll pick the best bet of it. We'll get that money back for you. Trust me, this guy, he's only had 1 loss all season heading into that game yesterday. So that being said, let's get to the business at hand. Some of the opening lines in college football here. The big game, marquee games. North Carolina State opened up at 7, up to 7.5 against Notre Dame. I've got my notes here, so I'm reading off of them. You know those North Carolina State's got a good quarterback. Finley's a good quarterback. North Carolina State can flat out stop the run, and that's what Notre Dame loves to do. They love to run the ball. North Carolina, I think, is 9th in the nation on rush defense. I mean, that's pretty stout. Wins over Louisville and Florida State, no, have not been that impressive now that you've seen them play most of the season. Those are their claims to fame. And they did lose to South Carolina in their opener, even though they outgained them, you know, by over 100 yards. But I remember because I had South Carolina in that game, I got lucky. But Notre Dame's a good team. The only really good team they played was Georgia. They lost by 1 to Georgia at home. This is at Touchdown Jesus. Early lean would be the dog there. I don't know. You know, Penn State is taking on Ohio State. Let's see, at Stations Casino, Penn State opened up at 5, shot right up to 6. So they came in a bet heavy on Ohio State in that one. This is the marquee game of the weekend, obviously. I'm not going to have a play on this game. Ohio State, after losing Oklahoma, their last 4 opponents they hung 50-plus points on. They are at home. They're in revenge mode. You know, it was interesting. I talked to a couple of handicappers out in Vegas that are well-known that I bounce stuff off of every week. We have numerous phone calls, kind of read each other and what we're thinking. And I said, you know, I just don't get it on this. They're begging you to take odds makers are begging you to take Penn State. They're 2nd in the nation. They just waxed Michigan. And during that game, I tweeted out to my followers, I don't know whether Penn State's this good or Michigan just sucks this bad. Because Penn State really hadn't played anybody except Iowa up to that point last week. And, of course, they struggled to beat Iowa. Michigan's offense is just deplorable. I faded them a couple of times this year, I think 3 times. And I went 2-1 against Michigan this year. Purdue lost their quarterback in that game. They played Purdue. And so, obviously, Michigan ended up beating them in that game, or they probably wouldn't have won that game. But nonetheless, it makes no sense to lay 6 with Ohio State against the number 2 team in the country, which probably means it makes sense to lay the points. Ohio State had a young team, and now they're developed. Their chemistry's there. They're coming on. Barrett's playing well at quarterback. We all watched them beat the living hell out of Nebraska a couple weeks ago. I was at that game. They were impressive. I saw them in person in Lincoln, Nebraska, beat the shit out of my Huskers. Without even breaking a sweat. They did allow Tanner Lee over 300 yards throwing the ball, which is a little bit of a concern because he's not that good. The average at best. But nonetheless, probably look at Ohio State there if I had a gun to my head. Something stinks to high heaven. Speaking of Huskers, Nebraska opened up as a 6.5-point underdog off a bye week, going to Purdue. Purdue's got quarterback problems. I saw that last week. A lot of big services had Purdue as a highly touted play. I know my good buddy Matt Holdout in Vegas, who runs 7 books, was all in on Purdue, and they went back in them on halftime. They never turned it around. Nebraska's had a week off. They've got a new athletic director. Riley's under the gun. You know, that one there probably leaned to the dog. This kind of do or die for Nebraska in this game. I mean, this is it for them. So, Georgia, Florida. Georgia laying 14, world's largest cocktail party. Ask yourself this question. How is Florida going to trade punches with them on offense? You go a bunch of 3-and-outs, 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 and let Georgia pound your defense running that ball as physical as they are, that could get away from you. FYI. TCU, Iowa State. How about Iowa State? On the road, beat Oklahoma. On the road, beat the shit out of me last week. I love Texas Tech in that game. You know, I just thought Oklahoma was looking ahead to Texas, and they went in there and beat him with a third-string quarterback. This Kemp kid is no joke. That's basically the biggest game in 10 years they've had names Iowa. They'll be ready for him. Matt Campbell's doing a good job of coaching that team. He brought him, and he and his entire staff 2 years ago came over from Toledo and took over that program. And they're making some, you know, Lanning, last year's quarterback, now middle linebacker that does it all and still plays some quarterback. Unbelievable player, unbelievable story. Lazar at wide receiver is best wide receiver in the Big 12. Montgomery's a good running back. TCU is going to have their hands full, and they got a couple of big games on deck too. So that's an interesting spot at Ames, Iowa. If you've never, I've been there about 10 times to see football games with Nebraska. Used to be in the Big 12. Very tough venue to go play in. Whew. Boy, that's going to be a tough game for TCU. Get out of there. You know, if TCU goes in there and blows them out, I'm going to be really, really impressed. They need to move up in the rankings because that's no easy out. So that being said, that's kind of my opening look at some games this weekend that are coming up in college football. NFL, of course, opens up. We'll take a look at a few NFL lines maybe tomorrow on Thursday. Let's go ahead and get to a free NBA play for today, get you out of here. Minnesota, who got waxed last night, thank you. Indiana, thank you. Allowed 130 points, thank you. Butler is iffy for this game. He didn't play last night. One of the reasons I'm going to have a drink here. I'm getting parched. One of those games there where I just thought Indiana was in a good spot. Indiana's scoring a lot of points. Keep that in mind when you look at Indiana. They're going to put up points this year. But 130-107 loser as a 10-point favorite last night. They go on the road. They're taking on Detroit. Detroit's favored 1. What? You know, a lot of times you see these lines in the NBA where you go, what? What's that? That's easy money. Minnesota, clearly the better team. Well, maybe not really. You take a look at Detroit here. 4-time revenge, by the way. Detroit's beat Minnesota the last 4 times they played, straight up and against the spread. They kind of got their number. You got your ass kicked last night. You got to travel. You're taking on a team here that is much better defensively. Minnesota's biggest problem is they're allowing 111 points a game. You know, and they still don't have... Minnesota's going to be a good basketball team, but their chemistry, they have not gelled and developed yet on either side of the ball. You know, and that's one thing you look at. That's why I'm 6-0 in the NBA right now. I haven't lost a game this year. Is I've looked at teams, watched preseason, saw how many new players they had, even though a lot of them are studs, you know, and Minnesota's got a bunch of studs. Wiggins, you know, they got them all. But they just have not developed their chemistry yet, and it's hurting them. And with Butler not in there, he may or may not play. He had an upper respiratory infection. Probably you'll see him on the floor. We're not going to be 100%. But the line reeks to high heaven to me. Detroit, -1 with their defense. Going to get it done against Minnesota tonight for your free play in the NBA. We'll take the Pistons at home against the T-Wolves, who are reeling off getting their ass kicked last night. Be back up tomorrow. More plays. Don't forget, Major League Baseball, NBA, both 4-unit plays tonight, both over at DocSports.com. I am on a roll like none other in both sports. Time to catch me when I'm hot. All plays 100% guaranteed. Best of luck today, and we'll talk to you again on Thursday.